All right. Cold calling, you can hire somebody to do for you for about $20 an hour is the going rate these days. That's not for like doing the whole acquisitions and deal and everything for you, but you can hire people. They even have like a whole team of people you can hire. It's a little investment, but they're like American expatriates living in Costa Rica. Maybe you remember what it's called? I can't remember. I can look it up if anybody wants to know, but you can hire a team of people to do this like around the clock for you, and you just feed them a list, and they're American speaking people living in a cheaper place, and they're happy to have this kind of work. You can also get people from the Philippines. There are a lot of cold callers out of the Philippines these days because their English is very good.
Yeah, with that cold calling, you're going to go an extra step because you're going to have to try to get the phone numbers. But there's services out there that you can do it for. They'll do 20 cents a lead.
Batch skiptracing.com. Batch, BATCH, skiptracing.com.
It's 20 cents a lead.
And there's certain list providers out there that will give you phone numbers if they're available. So, I mean, there's different ways that you can get it.
Yeah, but then you're not spending the 38, 40 cents on a postcard either. So you just kind of have to outweigh the benefits.
Yeah, so pulling that list with the phone numbers might be a little bit more expensive than just getting a list for mailing. But then, like Josh is saying, you're not spending the money on the mailing. You're just using your labor for it, or you can hire somebody else. It ends up being cheaper than direct mail. But again, if you're doing cold calling, 6 months is the average to get a deal, whereas we're closing an average deal from direct mail within 30 days of the marketing going out. And then we still have deals coming in because people have our marketing. We don't have to keep calling them because they're calling us. You know, they might call us a year later, you know, so you just never know what'll come from that. You can also do bandit signs. We've done these before and we've gotten a deal off them. We didn't do them in big numbers. If you're going to do this as a strategy, do like 100 every weekend throughout like your local area where you want to farm. Like make sure that everybody and their brother is going to see it if you really want it to be super effective. If you just put out a sign here and there, like you run the risk that the city's just going to pull it or somebody's going to mow over it, throw it away. Your competitor is going to go and steal it and put theirs in its place. You need to make sure that you do a sufficient number of them to really be successful with that as a strategy. It is a very cheap way to get some marketing out. And you see them all the time on the side of the road, like a cardboard piece that somebody's, you know, stapled a stake to and stuck in the ground and just hand wrote whatever on it. That would be the cheapest way. Or you can get the nice corrugated plastic that, you know, you can even get them pre-printed and they have nice metal stakes. So yeah, those are good to use.
I would say about 90% of the calls that you get from your bandit signs are going to be from other wholesalers. So
yeah, that is true. Then you can do what we do, which is buy a list and mail it. So it's our list costs, which we're part of a mastermind and we get a really discounted rate. But I think List Source right now is around 22 cents per list item. It's been a while since I looked, so don't quote me on that. But so you're buying a list, and for us, if we're buying a list from List Source, it's usually for a year. So that'll last you for a while. You may spend a little bit of money up front on it, but we're buying the biggest list we can and then mailing it in as big a chunks as we can throughout the year. And we do 8-week cycles. So every 8 weeks, they're getting a new mailing from us throughout the course of the year. Even if they've opted out, even if they've called in, we've talked to them, we're not even cultivating our list and removing people, you know, like dead mail that comes back. We don't spend the time to do that. It's a good way to save money, but to us, it's like so much easier and less expensive to just keep mailing them. And then we'll buy a new list, and the ones that sold are going to be off the list the next time we buy it. And it's a little counterintuitive there, but that's just what we do.
So say you buy a list of 10,000 names and you set okay, but I only sent out 1,000 this week and 1,000 next week, okay. And you get through that list, 10,000 in however many weeks, 10 weeks, and then you start over again with a new list, okay.
Yeah, so I would take the 10,000, divide it into 8, mail it every week for the 8 weeks, and then mail it again the next 8 weeks. Yeah.
And I can imagine they send the same list to like small people.
Yeah, I mean, everybody can buy the list and mail to it. Really, at the end of the day, you might have people that have a stack of 10 postcards just like yours on the counter, you know, because there's nothing new under the sun. Like people, this is what people do. There's tons of people in this room that are probably already doing it. But it's really how you diagnose, how you help, you know, how you become their friend and get in their lives. That's the really key part of doing it. So if you're going to market and not do that, you're going to get subpar results and probably waste a lot of money. So make sure you answer fast, follow up regularly, and become their friend. Yeah.
How many times do you mail? Just the twice?
We're continuing to mail throughout the year.
So the whole year, every 8 weeks?
Yeah, the 52 weeks divided by 8, so that many times a year. And again, if they call in and they opt out, And we occasionally have somebody that's like, I called you before and I told you to get me off your list. Well, I'm really sorry, but we pull a fresh list every year. So as long as you own that house, unless you conceal it by putting it into a land trust, which I'll be happy to tell you about, you're going to keep getting postcards from us, just like you get marketing pieces from Domino's, you know?
That's right.
And I've had a number of people threaten to call the state's attorney. I've had some guy's attorney call me because he said he wanted to do a deal and that I could buy the house subject to. So I said, send me a copy of your mortgage. And then he decided to tell his attorney that it was a scam. And I talked to the attorney and explained the situation. He was like, I will tell him to back down. I'm so sorry that he's bothered you. So people are a little crazy, even the really intelligent, savvy ones. They think that, you know, this is just all craziness and they can say and do whatever they want. But don't be afraid of that stuff. If somebody calls you and says you're doing something wrong, you're not. Like, there's nothing wrong about sending them a marketing piece, taking their phone call because they're calling you. Like, you're not, you know, calling a do not call list where you're going to get in trouble, that sort of thing.
Yeah, if you want to be a wholesaler, I think the first hat as a business owner, as a wholesaler, is you have to be a marketer.
Mm-hmm.
So we know so many wholesalers that hardly market. You know, they might do 1,000 at the most a month, or maybe a couple hundred a month, and they're looking to get that deal, and they can never figure out why they're not getting deals. And that's the number one reason is they're not doing enough marketing.
Or they're sending a little bit of direct mail and then doing a little bit of cold calling and doing a little bit of networking, and all together it's spending a lot of time and not getting much result because they're not doing enough focused in one area.
Maybe you already said it. So how many actually are you doing this week or per month?
Well, we're shooting to talk to 50 people a week
Okay.
so that we can try and get a deal a week, maybe two, depending on how well our people are doing. And to do that, we're getting a 1% response rate. So this is where knowing your numbers comes in. So if I know I get a 1% response rate every time I mail, then I'm expecting to send 5,000 pieces to talk to those 50 people. Okay. And it varies a little bit because the response rate changes over time. Different markets, it's going to be different. You know, Orlando market is going to be much lower response rate than somewhere like, you know, Polk County. Actually, we got a really high response rate. So if you like Polk County, that's a good place to market. Yeah.
Okay, just a couple quick questions. So you buy a list
Mhm.
based on your numbers, and you mail that list over an 8-week period, which would be 6.5 or 6 times a year,
Mhm.
the same people.
That's
So
right.
they get 6 pieces from you, postcards only,
Mhm.
and you have 6 different postcards.
Nope.
You can. Some people would say you should. We've never, and it works.
And then you're not getting the phone numbers, you're waiting for them to call and
Yeah.
give them a number.
We do some cold calling too, but like I said, we really focus on direct mail. So the cold calling that we've done has been with a joint venture partner that we've worked with. And he's kind of running that, and you know, we're kind of focusing on the direct mail because that's what we know and like the best. So it's kind of like we're willing to invest in looking at a new strategy, but we just really like what we're doing with direct mail.
So out of 50, you'll do one deal.
At least one.
Okay.
You know, ideally, if you're really skilled at doing the negotiations and diagnosing the problem, making sure that you're serving their needs, it's going to be easier to do 2 deals out of that. But, you know, for us, that's the bare minimum. We want to do at least 1 deal a week to meet our goals. And when we get more deals than that, so much the better.
Great.
So is that 50, or those 50 leads that came in, or those 50 house appointments?
That's, no, that would be a little crazy. So we're looking to talk to 50 people a week. And that could be them opting out, so that counts. But real conversations, you're really hoping to talk to 50 people. So if they're just irate on the voicemail and, you know, take me off the list, I wouldn't really count that. Like if you're only talking to 40 people, then go find a way to talk to 10 more people. Try and shoot to talk to 10 or 50 people a week. 10 people a day would be ideal if you really want to do it at a really high level. Losing track of what you just asked me. Oh, the appointments. So out of that 50 people, you're hoping for about 20% of those to be appointments, so about 5 appointments. Am I saying that right? That was 10%.
10.
Thank you.
10,
I can't do
10 out of
math in
50
my
would
head.
be 20%.
I was not a math teacher. Yeah, so 10% of those. So you want to shoot for about 5 appointments a week to get a deal or 2 a week. You can always do more. You know, some people will say if the house has equity, it doesn't matter what they say on the phone, set the appointment, go do it. Because if they have equity and they want to sell, then you can find out what the problem is and see what room there is. And if they really need to sell, maybe not having equity is fine. You can do a different type of deal. But, you know, if they have equity, they have room to strike some sort of a deal, right? So some people say that. Some other people say qualify them first before you go out. Make sure that you're in the right range. You might want to give them like a percentage of the Zestimate or something, like we'd be in this range to this range, just to see if they're even willing to do it, because if you just want those straight wholesale deals at a discount, that might be a qualifier that you need for your business. If you're willing to do any type of deal that you can make happen, you might want to go on everyone that has equity.
How do you come to the right number to offer?
Say one more time.
How do you come to the right number to offer them?
Oh, okay. So we are trying to go out to the house and really diagnose so that we're getting them to sell us and tell us like what they could, like, we want their worst, like, I'm not saying this right, their, not their worst case scenario, but like if you had to walk away from it
Your bottom
today, yeah, your bottom line, like what's the lowest that you can go and still get this deal done if we could solve your problem today? But you don't want to get to a numbers conversation before you really know what's going on. Because you can make them any type of offer and it not work for them. But if you know a little bit more about the situation, you could tweak your offer a little bit and it worked perfectly. So I think that's really key. But in general, the way we're thinking about numbers, we take this estimate, which totally not accurate in most cases, but it's a quick number that you can use in a systematic way if you're talking to a lot of people to try and drill down on which ones look like they might be deals. So we take this estimate and we take 70%, right? Or 60% or whatever works in your market that you think is going to fit for the deals that you've done. Basically, like look at your data of what you've bought and where that lines up with Zillow or the property appraiser. Some people use property appraiser and do like 80% of the property appraiser. That's just a quick estimate of numbers. When we're actually looking at a property to go under contract, we're pulling comps. We're looking at that, doing a Mayo formula, subtracting off the repairs that we think it needs. So the more likely it is to be a deal, the more you really want to drill that in. But, if you're talking to 50 people for the week and half of them are asking you for a number and forcing you to give it to them on the phone, just give them a low range. Like if you can pay 70% of Zillow for that property, go to like 50%. Tell them, I think we'd be in like 50 to 60% of Zillow, whatever those numbers are, and see how they respond. It doesn't have to be your offer. Like I didn't just offer them anything. I think based on no knowledge about your house, I'm not seeing it yet, based on what we're buying properties for in this area, we'd be probably, 50 to 60,000 on Zillow says 100. And they're like, oh no, I can never sell for less than 70. And you're like, bingo, I can buy it for 70. But then you're like, I don't know if I could do 70, right? Because you want to have some of that tension there. You don't want to just give it too freely. Oh, I'll do 70, right? So you always got to have a little pullback. But using a really low anchor price, if you have to name a number early in the conversation, that's going to really help set their expectations low. And even if they balk at it, like I'm going to sell for full retail. It sounds like a really nice property. I think that's probably in your best interest. You should do that. So like there's different ways to steer the conversation based on what they say, but don't feel like you have to make a firm offer because you really shouldn't have to. If the person's motivated to sell, they'll convince you to work with them. And then you just find a way you can say yes. That's the best. And I know that sounds really intricate, but I'm telling you, the more you can figure out how to do that, that's where the real keys are. You're trying to get them to sell you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's a great little nugget because most of our calls when the people first call are asking us how much is my house worth? How much are you gonna give me for it? So you don't have to technically tell them a price, just give them a range. That helps us so much because we're not committing ourselves to anything.
But make sure it's low.
Yeah.
But you're looking at Zillow, and a Zillow number, they're assuming that it's in pretty good condition, correct?
Sure.
Okay, so, all right. So
Or they're
it's
totally
almost
off.
a
Totally off, Yeah, so we in our business, and not all wholesalers do this, but we always get an appraisal for an aftermarket number because we don't want to assess that number for our buyers. Because you get 5 different appraisers and 5 different investors to come up with the number that it's worth fixed up, and they'll all have a different number. So to me, Zestimate's no different than having 10 different people look at it and come up with a number. So we pay, $150 for a desktop appraisal. So the appraiser needs to know the area, but they don't have to go to the house. And we just tell them, look for some comps that are fixed up nicely, like an investor would go in there and fix everything new. And we want to know, what's our average price we could expect to get for the property if it got fixed up like that. So they set our ARV for us. And then we share that with our buyers. So our buyers get an appraisal. And then we also do a formal inspection because to us, if we don't find a buyer for it, it should be a big enough deal for us to keep if, nobody else is going to buy it. If we got into a bad deal, we'll get out of it. But it's very seldom that we're going into a deal that doesn't have enough spread for us to still want to do the deal. So we're getting the inspection because if it's not your deal at the end of the day, it's going to be ours. And if it is your deal, you might want to do your own inspection. So we might as well give you the one that we got, you know, and that gives people a lot of peace of mind. So that's just something that we do that's a little different than most wholesalers do.
Yeah.
To us,
And
it's
you're
just
doing
a
this all
cost of doing
within
business.
14 days or 20, or?
We put 30 days on it.
30 days?
Yeah, and
And
very
you're-
seldom do people ask for less than that. Oftentimes they'll ask for more, you know, so we do 30 days standard. But if they want less than that, we always try and accommodate it. You know, it's always like based on when title and lien searches come back, you know, they have to be able to provide that on their side. So if we say 7 days and it takes 14, you know, they're still under contract to sell to us because they have to provide clear title for them to be able to close their side of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there are some cities that are taking about 21 days to actually get back, you know, the report. So
And it varies. Sometimes they're busier than others, so you just never know what could happen. It's nice to say I'll buy this in 7 days or 3 days or whatever. There are title companies that can get a title report back in a few days and be ready to close, but you know you want to make sure that it's going to be clear.
Yeah. Did you say, what was the name of that appraisal that
We do a desktop
Desktop.
appraisal
just?
after repaired value.
Sorry, Daniela, still so much.
No,
Once you get that deal, is there any way, I don't know, is there any way you can put it on the MLS if they allow you to?
there is, and you have to talk to different brokerages and different agents because some think it's illegal and some think it's fine, and some say as long as they have signed off on it, it's okay, and some say you can do it as long as you have contract.
At least for the legal, right?
Yeah, I think in a legal sense, if you were to ask like an attorney, I don't know if you can do it with just a contract and say, oh, I have the right to market this contract. Because once they put it on the MLS, it's gonna have pictures and an address, and now you're marketing something you don't actually own as if it's yours. So if you get them to sign off on it, then they're agreeing to it, and you have the right then to go and do it with their permission. But it's almost like they're doing the listing officially.
yeah, and
So
it's
just need to talk to
it's
them.
county by county too. Not all counties are going to allow you to do that.
So we haven't actually done that ourselves. Usually if we want to put it on the MLS, we'll just close on it, put it on the MLS, and then we wholesale it. So like a wholesale retail, and they sell very quickly. We made a lot of money on those sorts of deals, so it's a good way to do it.
What kind of contracts do you guys use?
Ours is pretty much only one page. I added a little section for specific performance so that if they back out, So yeah, we have like a half person. That's not what I meant. No, but they've been wonderful. And what we found in working with people, and you know, you may feel differently about this, but when we've tried to work with people that have training or have a license or have had a license, have some sort of knowledge of real estate or real estate investing, they tend to already have their own preconceived notions and sets of beliefs that kind of hold them back from really being coachable and trainable the way that we need them to be. So we've had the best results. And we've had good results with everybody, so it's not bad. But we've had the best results hiring people that know nothing, right? And the one lady that's done the best, she's got sales experience. She used to work in a new car place selling like add-ons for insurance and that sort of stuff. So she had sales experience and performance in her background, knew nothing about real estate except for that she bought her own house one day like years ago. So she's been amazing because everything I tell her, it's like brand new information, so she can apply it. And she gets results with it. She's not second guessing it or, oh, I've done it this way, or I think I know better, so in the background, I'm just gonna do it my own way. I've seen that with a lot of other people that we've worked with.
How far out is your reach?
We started in Volusia County and we're getting really good results there. We moved to Ocala area, Marion County,
You said that they're out there.
because of that. So they were doing our calls in Volusia, but when we all discussed it, wanted to transition them to that because they wanted to make more money, still kind of splitting that role, doing a half time. I was like, you'll actually do less work if you take your own calls and go on your appointments than if you're answering all our calls because we want to keep expanding, you know, which makes more sense if you just hire a person that's going to handle the calls and do the appointments. But so they started doing it, and then we had his brother's sister. They're not related, but they're like related through him. She's up in Gainesville, and she and her husband wanted to do it. And so we started doing some stuff with them, closed some deals with them. And it turned out like, you know, it didn't work out long term. So, you know, this is why probably better to hire the right way than to just work with whomever. We've had good experiences, but, you know, it hasn't always lasted. And we got into Brevard County, working with somebody that I grew up with, same sort of thing, closed a few deals, and then it just wasn't right over the long term. Somebody that knew that wanted to partner with us in Polk County, and he decided that it was just too much work for him. He didn't want to answer the phones and wouldn't let us answer the phones. I'm like, okay, so that system's kind of dead. It didn't really pan out too well. We didn't do any deals there. And then his brother and his wife over in Manatee County, where Bradenton is, we did some stuff there. So, I mean, we've been kind of all over the state, and we've got some experience in seeing the numbers in different areas. So I'm always looking to get back out to those areas, but you really need the right people. So we're kind of in that phase right now, just trying to consolidate what we're doing, make sure everybody's really performing at their best, and then hire more people.
Yeah, that's the one thing that we had to learn as starting a business, is that your business will expand and then will contract and expand and contract, and it's really doing that throughout the care.
How about buyers? Just a ton of buyers, or do you kind of go to a few? Or?
Some people like just having a few key buyers that they feel are really consistent in buying from them all the time. But it's really easy to become like an employee of those buyers, because then they start to call the shots in your deals, and you really want to stay in control of that. And the way to do that is to build competition among your buyers, which we're not trying to pit people against each other, but we do want to make sure we have a sizable list, so that, if that one buyer that would typically buy every deal from us isn't going to buy that deal, we have other people to fall back on, So we are actively always trying to build our list. I know some wholesalers that have thousands of people on their list. We don't have that many, but we don't just have a small handful either. So we're always trying to add more people to it. Some ways that you can do that: look in public records for people that have bought in all cash that don't live at the property address. In the past year or so, those are usually investors. Send them a little piece of mail or cold call them. Hey, I saw you on this property. I was wondering if you might be interested in buying any more. I get access to discounted deals all the time. If you want me to send them to you, let me know. People that are advertising for rent on Zillow usually are going to be investors. Our mom and pop that don't want to be landlords. You might end up buying the house from them. So those are some good places to look.
The list from Zillow?
For what? For the buyers?
Yeah, no, the list that you call this. When you buy Zillow?
It's whatever list you get. So like we buy a lot from List Source, or we'll go into the county records. Like you have probates, for example, and sometimes the phone number is on there, or evictions, usually the phone number is on there. So you can pull a list of that stuff from public records for free, and some of them even have phone numbers.
Yeah, but how would the best a resource to find numbers that people write?
That would be
white pages never work.
No, batchskiptracing.com they use. I think LexisNexis, which is an information gathering service. And so they're using the freshest information that you'll be able to get anywhere. So usually those numbers are going to be more likely to be right than what you find on like white pages or any of those places online, that you can look. So batch skip tracing, BATCH, skip tracing.
Yeah, but first you have to have that list of properties.
Yeah, you do have to get the list. But the list you can get from List Source, online, public records, that sort of thing. All right, you can do online marketing, which we don't really do much of. You'd have to talk to Carrie more about that stuff. But it'll vary depending on your goals and whether you're doing it yourself, which I don't recommend, because you'll go down a rabbit hole and maybe never come back up and do a deal. So make sure you hire people that know what they're doing so that you can be effective right out of the gate and get leads flowing that way. You can do website and search engine optimization. You can do Google AdWords and PPC. You can do Facebook business page ads or Facebook Live, which you probably saw Carrie's. It's a really great tool nowadays that is really performing well. And you can do Facebook Live for free and generate some buzz about you and your business, what you do. If you're hiring, if you're looking for seller leads, there's so many ways that you can utilize that. Any questions about budgeting and selecting your marketing channel?
How much for someone new to this, how much would you say they would probably need to start and get effective as well?
I would say if you can devote $1,000, it's very possible that if you really work hard on it and do that in a contracted amount of time versus spacing it out, you're very likely to do a deal from that, but it depends on your market. So if you're only going to get a 0.5% response rate in like Orange County, which I don't know that that's right because I don't market in Orange County, but I know it's way lower there, it's way lower in Seminole than what we're doing in Volusia. So depending on what your response rate is, it may or may not be enough. But I could say that on average across the different markets that we've done, we're spending anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 per deal. And the $2,000 is in the markets that are a little tighter. So, if you have, say, $2,500 that maybe you could do what we did and put it on a credit card if you don't have the cash, invest in yourself and know that within 30 days you can pay that back before you even know an interest rate on it, or get 0% card. I mean, I don't mean to tell you all to use your debt to do this deal, but if you're going to go into debt to buy a house, like, you might as well go ahead and do this too. Return's a lot higher.
I would also add, if you're new to this, your first step to do is you should go get 100 buyers. And if you went and got everyone's card here, you're almost halfway there. So that'd be the first step I would do if I was you, is go get 100 buyers. I'd be interested in the deal.
Yeah. Once you get a deal, you want it to go fast, and you're not likely to be putting it on the MLS. So you really do need to have some connections, or get on the phone and start calling everybody that you know that's in this business and network that way. All right, so our results this year, and we haven't quite hit our goals, but I told you we 10x. So for this year, our goal is $1 million in gross revenue. And we have so far, as of this week, hit $603,646 in closed profits for the year. And that's 35 deals that we've done for an average of over $17,000 per deal, which is a little bit low compared to where we were last year. With our deal average, we were at about 2021 last year. And that's just because we brought in new people that we've been training. But that's with new people that didn't know anything when they got started just 6 months ago.
Meaning that they're going out and negotiating
That's right.
the deals.
Yeah. So again, you got to know what to tell them, because they're not going to be able to do it on their own, or you hire somebody that already knows, and then they're deciding how your business is going to go, which I don't
Did you guys
recommend.
do any of these deals, or these were your team members that were out on the field signing these contracts with the sellers?
Well, I mean, we've done a lot of them still, because I'm doing phone support and coaching, and we've gone out to Ocala a few times and gone to properties with them to train them and that sort of thing. So I would say, we're still the decision makers on all the deals right now, because these people don't feel confident enough on their own, even though I keep encouraging them, like, you have my signature, I can always say no after the fact, get it as low as you can. I want you to be able to make that decision, but they're still very timid and always call me to make the decision. So I would say I'm still actively involved on all these deals, but that's not our goal.
Your goal is to get out of that.
Yeah.
Let them start.
Our current coach, and just if you're interested in knowing how we learned how to do all this stuff with wholesaling, check out Tom Kroll with Wholesaling Inc. And he gives away a lot of free content online about a lot of the stuff that we talk about in the coaching environment. He'll then get on Facebook Live and tell you exactly what we were just talking about. So, he's really a go-giver in that sense. He's always trying to give free value. It's great to be a part of his program, because you get access to discounts and a lot of stuff that is like working today that they weren't doing, last year or whatever. So it's nice. It's like being a part of a mastermind. But, just going on his Facebook pages and checking out the free content that he posts in the videos, you can get so much information out of it. But he always, I'm losing my train of thought. I was going to say something specific.
I was just thinking, how many of those 35 deals did you actually see personally?
And not very many of them.
5 maybe?
Yeah, we bought a deal subject to with tenants in place, and we didn't go out and see the house or meet the tenants until after the fact. So we're even doing creative deals that way. I can't remember what I was going to say about Tom. That's all right. Working on outsourcing ourselves now completely to our team, as I was saying, except for that executive level planning and delegation networking. That's what I was going to say about Tom Kroll. His brother is his acquisitions person. He primarily just uses him, and they're closing, 4, 5, 6 deals a month. And he constantly jokes like, I never know anything about the deal until I get the check from the title company. Every once in a while, he'll have a deal that's really sticky that he has to deal with himself, but for the most part, he just gets checks. So, that's a nice place to be. And then we're working on giving in more lavish ways to help other people and their lives in the process. We've even a couple of times at the closing given $5,000 extra to the seller, just because, we did better than we thought we were going to do, and we know their situation and we want to help, and, they're so much more happy not expecting that and then getting that. So, there's so many ways to give back, to give to the sellers and help their lives, not just buying the house, but there's so much more you can do. All right, and here's contact information. If you want to get on our buyers list, just send Josh an email here and we'll make sure to add you. But you can contact us anytime. We're always happy to help. It is hard for me to get on the phone. So text and email and Facebook stuff that I can do, like when I have a free moment. We do have kids that we're homeschooling and have an active business, obviously. We're actually pregnant with another baby, so this will be the first time that we'll have two little ones at the same time because we have an almost 18-year-old. Always thinking she's 18, she's 17. And we have an 18-month-old little boy. So our lives are getting busier and busier, which is all the more reason why we need this to work at the level we're trying to make it work at. And then it gets really fun too once you have more money coming in, thinking, well, where am I going to put all this extra money? Because maybe you could go spend it all, but don't do that. Find ways to put it into passive investments that it's going to continue to return for you. And you can always put money into something and do that BRRR technique where you're going to put money into it and fix it up, rent it, refinance it, take that money, roll it into something else. There's a lot of ways that you can really take a little bit and kind of get the ball rolling. And any topic, we'll be happy to answer. Yeah.
If you could do it all over again, what would you do different?
Okay, I would start talking to a lot of people right out of the gate really fast. So like, for example, we did Augie Violet's pack coaching, and one of the main things that we started with was you got to do 50 houses, talk to 50 people. And there wasn't a timeline on it. And I wish that instead of taking 6 months to do that,
Your radio.
ghost in the machine. So instead of taking 6 months like I did, and then we finally did a deal, and it worked out well, but it was almost like a fluke of a deal. It's not because we talked to sufficient numbers of people to really understand what we were doing and get skilled. So I would say talk to 50 people in a couple weeks' time if you can, like really go after it really fast. Because as you talk to all those people one after another, you're going to start to get the nuances of their motivation and their story and get better at asking the right questions. You're going to have more thoughts about that in between calls. Whereas if you space it out, even like talking to them over a month, worse yet, multiple months, which a lot of people do when they're trying to do this, you're not going to get the same benefits. You're not going to learn as much, right? So you might do some deals, but it's not going to be because you really did the deal. It's going to be because somebody basically handed you something. And we've had a lot of those. So, I know how that is. You really can't mess it up with a motivated seller. They'll chase you down. I've had people literally chase me down, like not let me get out of buying their house. So those are fun, but if that's all the deals you're doing because you're not getting skilled, really focus on building your skills there.
Yeah, and I would add, make marketing super easy and focus on one thing at first and get really skilled at that. Don't jump around to different things.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see, we do postcards and we do a huge list most of the time. We have smaller lists now, but our main focus is on the big list. We just make it really super easy to be able to get out there and do that. That's right.
Yeah, just like those lists, if they're harder to get, the harder you make it on yourself to get your stuff going and keep it going, and the harder it is for you to do deals. So the best thing you can do, hire a virtual assistant from like Philippines for like $5 an hour. You can find them on Upwork.com. They have great English skills. Like you can see their tests that they've taken online. A lot of them have bachelor's degrees and stuff. So you hire somebody and get your marketing going so it's consistent and you don't have to think about it. That's probably the best thing you can do.
You mentioned like paying 20% to the acquisitions manager. How are you compensating the rest of the team? Do you have some sort of set aspect?
We do hourly for our virtual assistant in the Philippines, and she handles all the administrative stuff and whatever I'm not still doing that I need to hand off to her. And the other people are our acquisitions people.
We have list building people too that are.
Yeah, we do have one person who goes into the courthouse and pulls some list stuff for us, but it's a very minor role. Other than that, we pretty much do everything. So it's a very small team. You don't really need a lot of people to do this at a high level.
Well, and we also try to give a bonus on every deal that we close to everyone that's on the team.
Yeah, everybody gets $100, couple $100, depending on how long they've been with us.